Hey guys, so stay tuned to the end of this video for an update on what Heather has been saying, what she's been responding to on her podcast. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. Hey guys, what is up? So today we are diving into this Heather McDonald, Justin Martindale, and Jeff Lewis drama. Now, if you don't know who these people are, they fall under the Bravo umbrella. So they basically are comedians, podcast hosts, do reality TV. I mean, it's just all jumbled. I just jumbled them all into Bravo land, basically, for the most part. So the person everyone seems to be upset with is Heather McDonald. And before we get into it, I really want to notate that, look, this is not going to be a thing where I'm team Heather, I'm team Justin, I'm team Jeff Lewis. This is purely a thing where I'm just going to be like, this was wrong and this was right. I agree here, I don't agree there. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. So I'm going to start with Justin's beef with Heather. So Justin starts off by telling us in his video that, you know, him and Heather, they've known each other for years. I mean, over 10 plus years ago, he was doing live shows with her, and he's even gone on her show, and we know exactly 33 times, The Juicy Scoop, where he co-hosts with her. Justin views Heather as a mentor, as his sister, someone he looked up to. So Justin shares with us that things started to get weird for him and Heather starting 6 months ago, March of this year of 2023. And I thought it was really important to mention before we get into all the recipes that resulted in beef with Justin and Heather, that Justin, he went to the Bourbon. It's this place in Hollywood where, you know, they do a lot of comedy or live shows, etc. And he saw Jeff Lewis there, walked up to Jeff Lewis, and the two got talking, and Jeff Lewis said something along the lines of, it would be really nice of you to come on the Jeff Lewis live show. However, being friends with Heather wouldn't allow it. So that's what Jeff told Justin, that he would love him to be on the show, but Heather didn't want him to, would not allow it, so he couldn't have Justin on his show. So anyways, keep that in mind. So now we hit to March, Justin's birthday. He had plans to go to New York City. He still went. However, he did have a 6-hour flight delay. And so he missed out on a lot of his plans anyways, right? So he gets to the hotel with his boyfriend. Heather calls him about a beef that she has with someone else. We're not going to mention that whole beef because that's just so irrelevant. The reason why he mentioned his birthday is because it was a clear illustration of, okay, this friendship is one-sided. Here I am trying to cheer you on, like, F that girl, forget that girl, whatever, right? On his birthday, and she's never said happy birthday to him. She had no interest, zero interest in what he was doing on his birthday. So I believe that's why he mentioned that. So now we get to the second recipe, which is the cowboy trip, and there's an important person to mention here, and that is Krista. Krista is friends with Jeff. Krista is friends with Justin and Heather. So the cowboy trip was with Heather and Krista. Heather and Krista, they go on vacation, they have a fun time. However, there were rumors that they had an argument. Now, at first, people were saying this argument was about Krista and Heather deciding on what restaurant to go to. They had an argument over that, but it turns out, Justin shares with us, that the argument was about Krista telling Heather, you need to pay your regulars, you need to pay Justin. And Heather didn't want to at first. She eventually did, starting in May of this year. However, at the time, Heather was not feeling it. So now we get to the telethon. So Justin, he's involved in the Drags Isn't Dangerous telethon to fight anti-trans and trans legislation. And Justin had asked Heather if she would simply make a little video, do a shout out, something of anything to support this. And Heather said no. She said no because she didn't want to upset some of the people that followed her. And I find this very strange because she's under that Bravo umbrella, so there's a lot of viewers that watch her that are in the LGBTQ plus community. So it doesn't make any sense to me that she would say no, but she did. Justin has every single right to be frustrated with this because it's like me going up to Heather and saying, hey, it's Black History Month. As a support for this organization, can you just give a shout out or something? Because Heather talks about pop culture. Heather on the Juicy Scoop talks about so many topics. So it didn't make any sense to me that she wouldn't support that. So Justin goes on to say that after this incident, things started to get weird, and I understand completely. I mean, he was receiving comments of like, how could you be with this person if they don't support the LGBTQ plus community? What are you doing? And he did agree. And at this point as well, he does share with us that there was a conversation with him and Heather where Heather was like, I feel like the energy isn't there. I feel like you don't want to be here on the Juicy Scoop. He shares with us that there was a conversation of that sorts. So now we also get to the pool incident. So I guess June 3rd, Krista, the mutual friend, invited Justin over and his boyfriend to go to the pool. It was the first Sunday, but the first day that there was sun. And I guess Heather felt some type of way about it because she sent them screenshots of a fan saying, oh, you weren't invited, and Heather replying, nope. So that was strange that Heather, I'm like, what are we in kindergarten? It's kind of strange to me that she would do that, knowing like if you send it to them while they're still at Krista's pool or at her home, her residence, then they're going to sit there and talk about you, most likely. But anyways, so now we're in July 11th, and Justin shares with us that in the beginning, when he would do the Juicy Scoop, Heather would share with him like the structure, the outline of the show, share the topics, what's going to happen. And then she slowly stopped doing that. And this is where I kind of disagree with Justin, but let's continue. So they go on the show, they start talking about Barbie, and then eventually they bring up the Sound of Freedom movie. It came up, and Justin was like, I don't really know what to say. You know, I'm a comedian. So he said something along the lines of just in time for summer. And that really pissed off a lot of viewers. Now, the hate comments he was getting, can you imagine the hate comments he was getting with being in the LGBTQ plus community? I'm not going to get into the hate comments, but just imagine what he was getting with a movie that was about child. Okay, that's what this movie is about. So basically, long story short, he reaches out to Heather for some help. Like, these people, you know, they keep calling me this, and this. My life is being threatened. And Heather's response was like, you're a comedian, jump it off. I'll say something in the next show, the next episode, which she never does. Now, I'm going to compartmentalize that Heather is a friend for a moment, but what I did not hear Justin say in his video, whether he did this or not, guys, he didn't say it in this video, but I didn't hear any accountability. I heard, you know, I made a joke. I didn't know what was going on, but I'm sorry. I don't care if Heather is my friend or not. If I'm going to go on a show now, a show that I'm getting paid for, granted, I heard it's not that much. However, if I'm going to do that, you know, I'm going to be still professional. It's my responsibility to know what I'm going to be talking about, to inform myself on the topics so I could have really great, honest conversations. But that was on you for not educating yourself on the topics and what you're going to be talking about. You got to take accountability for that. What I also did not like was Justin also not taking accountability by saying, oh, well, Heather could have edited this out because she knew that people were not going to like this take. How do you know Heather knew that people weren't going to like what you said? I don't know. That's too assumptive for me. However, what I can agree with is if Heather did not edit that out of her episode till this day, no, that's wrong. That's a bad friend. That's not a friend. But two, if Heather did not, on the next episode, back you up in any type of way, that is also a horrible friend. She's horrible. We acknowledge that, but he needs to take some accountability. What also doesn't fly with me with Heather is that she was liking negative comments at this time about Justin. Now, Heather's excuse to all these comments, not just Justin, but even Jeff Lewis, when she's liking negative comments about him, it's like, oh, well, I just like, you know, I like comments. I get so many. I've been doing it for years. I'm going to stop doing that now, but I've just been liking. That does not fly with me, and here is why. Because it is your finger that is pressing these like buttons. It's your thumb. You're admitting to these actions, so you did them. I don't care of you not. You have so many comments. And you're just scrolling and you feel sorry because you know, you see paragraphs and you want to respond to people. You want to engage with people. I don't really give a damn. What I care about, it was your action. You did this. You liked it. So yeah, I am going to blame you, and I don't blame anyone else. If you liked a negative comment about Justin or Jeff, they have every right to be upset, period.
So as Justin is sharing about July 11th, that incident, I also want to note that he also shares with us that he told Heather that him and Krista are going to Disneyland with Krista's daughter. And the fact that Justin was acting very like brand new, I can't believe Heather was jealous about that. You know, she was not invited to Disneyland. Like, this is all very childish to me. Like, I do believe there was a certain point where Justin was upset with Heather that he wanted to make her jealous of the friendship that he had with Krista. I do believe those things did happen. Whether he says it or not, it just, like, you already told us about the incident where, the June 3rd incident where Krista invited you over to the pool with you and your boyfriend, and you guys had wine and stuff, right? You already told us about that incident, how she had fear of missing out, how she had FOMO. So obviously, if she was envious of that, she's going to be envious of you going with Krista and her daughter to Disneyland, okay? So you did know this. This was knowledge you knew, but you wanted to make her jealous, in my opinion. So, okay, so now we get to the Montreal incident. So Justin, he's in Montreal, and he receives this message from Heather, something along the lines of like, good luck, or, you know, very short to the point. Now, Justin, he gets excited because, you know, for the first time, Heather reached out to him, and it wasn't work related. It was just to see how he was doing. Something along those lines, right? Now, here where things get really questionable to me, because prior to this message of Heather texting Justin, Krista and Heather were on the phone. They had a conversation where Heather was like telling Krista, I really want Justin to be back on the Juicy Scoop. I'm going to send him a message. And then Krista tells Heather, well, maybe you should just reach out to him to see how he's doing. So that way it doesn't look like you're just, you know, messaging him when you want something, when you want him to be on your show, or when it's work related, right? Now, Heather did just that. Now, the reason why I am side eyeing, I am red flagging, I don't care if she has a platform or not, Krista, is because if you were her, right, and you told Heather, hey, maybe just like reach out to Justin just to see how he's doing so he knows that you actually care about him. And if you're Krista and you hear on the receiving end from Justin, hey, Heather reached out to me to see how I'm doing, why on earth are you then telling Justin what you told Heather to do? Didn't you get what you wanted, Krista? Like, Heather did what you told her to do. So I don't understand how you benefit from this other than starting chaos, starting drama. I don't understand that, because this, to me, that's a red flag. I don't understand what good of it was to let Justin know, oh, by the way, I told Heather that. That sounds very fishy, very red flag, very sus. Like, how do you benefit from that? Asking for a friend. So now we cut to all of this beef went down, and Justin, he goes on this podcast. He goes on John Hill from Radio Andy, had him on and take callers. And a caller asked Justin, you know, what's going on with you and Heather? And Justin responds, I'm taking a break from the grown woman drama. And of course, Heather took that as, oh, you know, he's talking about the Juicy Scoopers, they're the grown women, when in reality, Justin was just talking about Heather, like she is the grown woman drama. But anyways, all we know as a result of that, Heather got upset and she didn't like the way how Justin responded in that manner. So now we go to Heather's private Patreon. So I'm not going to play it because, you know, that is a paid service, but either way, I will summarize that Patreon. And basically, it was very confusing. Me, like, taking my notes, literally following everything. It was very confusing to follow because she didn't want to use names. And she was also scatterbrained herself because she had to stop herself and be like, wait, actually, it's this. This was very a sus Patreon, emergency Patreon. It was very sus. And I'm not even trying to take Justin's side, Heather's side, Jeff's side that we even get to yet. I'm just calling it how I see it. A person who had to learn about all this information. This this was very sus. So Heather gets on her Patreon and she's like, I need to address some lies. And the reason why I'm posting it here on this Patreon is because I like how I can freely post whatever I want to post. But my thing is, it was still paid. Like, I paid $50 for the VIP. But this was still something you had to pay to hear, because even Patreon, like, you can have free Patreon stuff on your Patreon. So she chose for the paying members to hear this. So that was one thing Heather was criticized for. Like, in this drama, if this person was really your friend, if you really cared about the people that watch you, because people did learn to love Justin. All I'm saying is, because Justin is no longer going to be on the show and he was an addition to your show, The Juicy Scoop, the least you can do is inform people why for free. That's all I'm saying, but let's keep it going. The only thing Heather, in my opinion, clearly states here is that she did, in fact, have a conversation with Jeff Lewis. She doesn't state his name, I assume for legal reasons, but she did, in fact, have a conversation with Jeff about saying something along the lines of how she did not indeed want Justin to be on his show because she wanted their shows to be unique, and she felt like one person jumping on to another show, her show wouldn't be as unique. You know what I mean? So it was creative differences is what she's labeling this as. Now, Heather even goes on to say that the reason why she felt strongly about communicating with Jeff that she didn't want Justin on his Jeff Lewis live show is because at that time and in that moment, she looked into having Justin permanently on the show. Like, she was in that mindset of thinking about having him permanently on the show. And I thought it was interesting that she stated that, because my response was, well, you didn't have a contract with him. You didn't have, so who were you to tell him what show he could be on and what show he can't? So I truly felt, guys, that the only reason why Heather added in there, at the time I was thinking about having him permanently, but then it didn't happen. I think the only reason Heather added that comment in there was so people wouldn't say this. Like, you don't have a contract with him, Heather. He's not on your show permanently. You were just now paying him this May of 2023. So what control did you have to tell someone where they could go and where they couldn't go? And I believe that's the critique she was scared to receive, and that's why she added that. Heather explains that was a year ago, but now, since then, I definitely changed my mind. He could be anywhere he wants to, and which is also convenient. You know what I mean? But then she goes on to say that when she told Jeff this, that, oh, I changed my mind, Justin can be anywhere that he wants to, she says that, or she claims that Jeff's response was, well, now I don't want him on my show because, he gave you problems. He sounds like a problem. I don't want him to give me problems. That's what she says. Heather closes her whole thing with saying how she feels betrayed, she feels used for content, and she's basically no longer friends with Justin or Jeff, the two J's, J squared. So now we get to Jeff's podcast, and now he had the actress on from Angel and Law and Order, and no one ever, like, everyone in this drama does not care about that. I'm like, holy cow, like, oh my gosh, I was just watching an episode with her on Angel. But anyways, so he has his podcast, and he's like, Heather McDonald and I are no longer friends anymore. And I'm like, okay, what happened? What is the tea here? So, the drama we're not really going to talk about. I can do that all in another video. There's so much going on that I really don't need to talk about. Megan Weaver, the drama with her, she works for Jeff Lewis, or with Jeff, and Heather McDonald. Heather's being hated everywhere, so we're really just going to fixate on the three people that dislike her, okay? So anywho, Jeff had some problems with Heather. Not everything was resolved after his colleague Megan and Heather got into it, so things haven't really been the same. Previously in the past, Heather has compared Jeff to a cult leader. They also needed to sit down and have an honest conversation. What did it for Jeff, though, was Heather was also a pattern liking negative comments about Jeff. And usually Jeff goes, I don't call her out on these because she'll use that excuse that, like, she used with Justin. Oh, I just like all these comments because of the engagement. I feel bad when people write these paragraphs and I don't respond, yada, yada, yada. So he knew off the bat that Heather was not going to take accountability for liking negative comments about him. So after a fan left this, Heather actually commented back and agreed. So a fan left this. It's obvious you have several people intentionally trying to take you down. You were obviously set up. This person taking a list, keeping dates, and looking for a way to pivot. Interesting, it all starts with Jeff Lewis, who I don't think is out for your best interest. The person goes on to say, distance yourself from all of these people. I'm sorry. And Heather responds, I agree. So Jeff goes, this isn't, you can't get away with liking something or whatever. You can't say you scrolled and just like. You responded, I agree. So Jeff unfollowed her and blocked her. So then this popular name keeps showing up, Krista. Jeff makes this comment that Krista knows where all the bodies are buried. And I'm sorry, guys, but if you can't tell, I'm red flagging the heck out of Krista, because Jeff then shares with us, just to be really petty, to be really nasty, that Heather had borrowed some diamond earrings worth $10,000 from Krista. They were like diamond hoops, and Heather has not returned them since. And so Jeff's like, you can sue her. You can do one of three things. Ask her to return your earrings back, ask her to replace the earrings, or ask her to give you the money for the earrings. And Jeff goes, Krista, you don't have a platform, but you have one now. But the reason why I'm red flagging Krista here is because, to me, if this is my friend, if this is truly my friend, if this is my friend that I go to Cabo with and everything, I'm going to ask for those earrings back. And if she doesn't give it back, then she's not a real friend. And you can take legal action if you choose to. But you're telling then Jeff this? I just don't understand. I don't know if it's just this is what you do when you have a podcast and you're under that Bravo umbrella. You talk about friends on podcasts and shows. Because if this is the thing where everyone's monetizing off of it, benefiting from it any way they can, then I guess okay, but it just doesn't seem like a real friend. To me, I am more of, if you have a problem with Heather, you take it up with Heather. You don't sit there and then tell Jeff about it. To me, Krista was never a true friend to at least Heather. But to me, at the same time, if you can talk about someone, what makes you think that person won't talk about you? Feel me? Now, this is Justin and Jeff. If Krista can sit there and talk about Heather, what makes you think that Krista's not sitting there and talking about y'all to Heather? I'm not really trusting in situations like that, because it's just not for me. This person, Krista, also shares with Jeff that Heather McDonald, she really gets involved in beef that she doesn't need to be involved in, purely for engagement and views. She's made a lot of money off of that beef. Megan and her beef, apparently. Megan is the person that is Jeff's colleague. And speaking of Megan for a quick moment, I guess apparently Megan had reached out to Heather and was like, hey, let's just squash this beef we have. And Heather texted her back, no. But now that there's all this drama going on, you have Jeff that dropped Heather, Justin that dropped Heather, Krista that dropped Heather, and now you also have Heather being seen in a negative light in the comments on social media, etc. Now she reaches out to Megan and she's like, hey, what about that coffee? Unfortunately, Megan, she couldn't, meet her that day for the coffee because she had already, she had other things going on. But Jeff noted that was fishy. Now, all of a sudden, you want to reach out to Megan. It does seem like Heather is just trying to protect, her foundation. She's trying to protect her business, what she's built, her bag, her coin, That's what it looks like to me. There was even also an incident where it was a hypothetical situation on Heather's Facebook group, where they were saying if Andy Cohen was replaced, who would he be replaced by? And Heather responds I'm surprised you guys didn't think of me, that I could replace Andy Cohen, and mind you, this was all a hypothetical situation. This wasn't something that also happened recently. It wasn't. I do believe Jeff thought this was something that happened recently, because he was like, we were just on Watch What Happened Live, and she said this, but I don't think this was something recent that happened. But anywho, it did happen. It did in fact happen that in Heather's Facebook group, they were having a hypothetical conversation of who would replace Andy Cohen. And she did in fact say, oh, what about me? I personally don't see a problem with that, because everyone is very egos. There's a lot of egos in the room. There's a lot of I'm the leader in the room type of ordeal. So that didn't really surprise me. But anyways, Jeff sent that to Andy. He sent that to Andy. Said, like, I wouldn't have her on your show for like another 13 years or some shit like that. And I'm just like, really, y'all? Is this what we're doing? Is this the pettiness? I will say this though, Jeff did state that he was hurt. And usually, if you watch Jeff Lewis and his past conflicts with people, when he's hurt, he he comes for you. Basically, for the most part, he says what he says. He's very honest and blunt. And how I see it, you're definitely not safe if Jeff Lewis is hurt by you, because he's going to state his opinions. Feel me? So Jeff also shares with us, before he sums up the drama with Heather, is that there are also like two of her co-hosts or hosts that are upset with the way how Heather's been treating them on the Juicy Scoop. And Jeff offers them to come on his show. He's like, look, I have my own channel. I know I'm always open to creating new shows and working on new projects. So you're more than welcome over here. If that is not shade, I do not know what is. Offer them a job. A job. Damn, Jeff Lewis is hurt. And also, Jeff does confirm what Justin said earlier that I explained in this video about, them meeting at the bourbon spot in Hollywood. And Jeff saying, hey, I would love you on my show, but Heather won't allow me. So he does confirm that did actually happen. He also shares with us, and I assume Justin told him, but he shares with us that Justin got paid $300. And he's like, we pay more over here. The shade is real. To sum it up, Jeff, he's known Heather for over 30 years and calls her just not a good friend. And for the most part, it does not look like they're going to be friends anytime soon. So that is really what's going on right now. Everyone is just livid with Heather, and I don't think it's going to end here, because Jeff also reveals that he's going to have Justin on this month, September 2023. This month he's going to have Justin on. Now, my opinion on this matter is that Heather, she has a lot of explaining to do. She does not look good in this whatsoever. She looks horrific in this. I also think that Krista's a fake friend. I understand she doesn't have a platform, but here's a question for Krista I have. Like, what are you getting out of this? As far as that whole Montreal incident where you then told Justin, well, actually, I told Heather to say that. Like, what were you getting out of it? Because clearly you were not also a great friend either. I mean, none of these people were great friends. Maybe Justin. Justin was a good friend. I didn't see anything wrong. However, I felt like there was a lack of communication with him and Heather, because that's the thing. People are scared of communication, especially when you have a friendship and a workship with each other, because it's a fine line of, well, if I upset this person, then maybe they won't allow me back on the show and I won't get exposure. I won't get my $300. You know what I mean? So it's such a tricky fine line when it comes to working with friends as well.
Hey guys, so as I am, editing this video, a new discovery happens. So Heather McDonald, she posted on her Patreon. I'm not going to post it because it is a paid service, so doing the whole respectful thing. However, I will summarize it. So she creates a post, and it's a video of an influencer telling her story of what she went through. And Heather, she's commenting in the post saying, this is what's happening to me. This is exactly what I'm going through. And the reason why I'm incorporating this into the video is because I feel like it's so important to say, no, Heather, this is not fully what you're going through. I just sat and watched this 38-minute, 47-second video. I believe her name is Brianna, the influencer. She was stalked, harassed, bullied for 3 years and mind you, although if I'm being honest, I believe Brianna when she says she was cyberbullied and all that, but when her ex-husband and then her ex-husband's siblings get into the mix, get into the Reddit, I start to question, like, I'm missing something. However, with that being said, it doesn't change the fact that Brianna was bullied for years for no reason. It's such a long story. Definitely give it a good watch. However, what Brianna went through and what Heather McDonald is currently going through are two different things, or complete two different things. Now, Heather may believe the reason why she relates to Brianna is because she's probably going through depression. She's probably suffering mentally right now, which is why I believe Heather believes she's exactly like Brianna. She's wrong in some areas, because the difference here is that Heather McDonald, she has a platform where she is literally, her job is to state opinions, have opinions about different topics, including pop culture and things of that nature. So, when you're in that world of where your job is to literally comment on things, your opinions on different topics, that means people are allowed to comment on you. People are allowed to have those opinions, whether you like it or not, about you, Heather. So it's mind-blowing to me that you want to compare someone who's been stalked, physically stalked, and you want to compare that to, mind you, these three people who you're having issues with, you were friends with, and you did them dirty. This is ridiculous. The fact that it's actually insulting. It's insulting that you compared yourself to Brianna and her story. This actually is an insult to Brianna. Brianna had to get attorneys and lawyers to find out who was doing this to her for years. And here you are, over your friends, and you want to pull the, oh my gosh, I feel, and mind you, mental health is a serious thing. So if these people, if Jeff Lewis, if Justin and Krista and whoever you are having beef with, if any of these people are causing you to be mentally unwell, mentally unstable, then I guess I just wouldn't be online talking about them, liking negative comments. I wouldn't be just causing more attention to it when they ask you, oh, do you know who Jeff Lewis is? And you pretend like you don't know who he is. It just sounds like you're playing this game. It's like you want to have your cake and you want to eat it too. You want to be important in this whole scandal or thing you got going on right now. You want people talking about you, but at the same time, you also want people feeling sorry for you. It's just, you can't have it both ways. If you are struggling mentally, then you get the help, but this is not it. This is insulting, you trying to compare someone who was actually physically stalked online, okay, for 3 years. So after listening to Jeff Lewis' podcast, Heather doesn't name names or anything, but after listening to Jeff's podcast, Heather reached out to Krista asking her how much were the earrings. Krista responded $2,700 to $3,000. Now, according to Jeff, these earrings were $10,000. But like I said, I've always viewed Krista as a red flag. But Heather says that she sent a check for $3,000 and that it was sent to Krista. So Heather believes, this is the logic we're going with here, the fact that Krista gave her expensive earrings and didn't tell her how much it cost was a huge indication that she was setting her up. And this doesn't make any sense to me, because how is Krista going to know that you were going to lose the earrings? You know what I mean? In order for her setup to happen, she had to know that you were going to lose her earrings. But in Heather's head, she's like, oh, she gave me something expensive. She knew I was going to lose it. She didn't mention it, so this is a setup, because she was quiet the whole time on how much the earrings were. I don't know. To me, I guess I can see how Heather might be like, well, because she was quiet about really wanting the earrings back, she was waiting for a big moment to pop like this so she can say, Heather stole my earrings or never gave it back to me. But it just doesn't make any sense, Heather. Heather, if you were a decent person and you borrowed an item from your friend and returned it back, then there would be no setup. Feel me? It's just human decency to, regardless of how much the earrings cost, if when you borrow something from someone and they ask for it back, all I need to ask for is once. Heather's like, the only time I've seen is one time she's asked for it. It's her earrings. She shouldn't have really honestly needed to ask for it once. Once you wore it, you should have returned the earring back, period. So once again, she's wrapped it around in her head that she is the victim because she lost someone else's earrings. I know she's trying to, make Krista look bad by, you know, how much the earrings were. Like, oh, you gave me this much of expensive earrings. It didn't look expensive. You know what I mean? Like, she was giving me that energy. However, at the end of the day, if you were a decent human being and just, you know, you borrowed something from your friend and return it, we wouldn't be having this conversation, which she fails to realize or fails to mention. And I also wanted to mention too, because I can't forget this, Heather, you know, her comparing herself to Brianna, her feeling the way that she does, you know, maybe now she could realize what Justin Martindale was going through when all he did was ask her in the beginning of like the next episode, the next video that you do, can you address this? You know, can you just be like, you know, I know Justin, you know, he's not this awful person you guys think he is. And silence. So it's really weird how she's now wanting, she couldn't give it, but now is wanting that same sympathy that Justin went through. Now she wants that, expects that. Because guys, this is what I'm going through. Like, they're trying to tear me down. Like, oh, they're trying to tear my business I've been building for so many years down. Like, you know, they're trying to ruin everything that I build. Okay, what about Justin? Like, he also has a podcast as well. She's gotta know how messed up she sounds right now. There's no way she doesn't. There's no way. Instead, what she's doing is that she's hiding behind any storyline, in my opinion, at this point, to push away from the drama between her and Justin. You know, and with all, and I've been watching Heather too. I've been like looking at, she can be met with sense. So she needs to make some.
But anyways, those are my thoughts about this whole drama, and I am definitely going to be following this story. I'm going to be listening to everything, so I will definitely keep you guys updated, and also let me know what you think about anything I've said. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, why? I will respond. Thank you guys for watching. This was my honest conversation, and I will see you soon on the next video. Bye guys.